Greetings, I'm Cam Miller, and this is Team 99, a look back at the 1999 Cincinnati Reds on the 25th anniversary of their improbable season. This is the final episode, Episode 7, The End. I'm going to start the show off a little differently for this final episode. I'm going to read a listener email. This one comes from Joey Witterstater. Cam, listening to your podcast about Team 99 has brought back memories of that magical season. My biggest memory of that season was singing the national anthem with the Cincinnati Boys Choir on September the 12th. It was a Sunday day game. Attendance was a little over 20,000. After the anthem, we had our own section in the green seats. It was a beautiful day. Just for singing in front of that crowd and making my parents proud, they bought me a Sean Casey t-shirt. I still have it to this day, even if it doesn't fit anymore. He's been my favorite Reds player since that day. I don't remember that much about the game because at the time, I was trying to flirt with the girl in the row in front of me, using my singing abilities to get her attention. The girl really didn't pan out except for a few nights chatting on AOL Instant Messenger, but I digress. The Reds did beat the Florida Marlins 11-5, with the Reds having 11 RBIs, with Aaron Boone contributing 4 of them. Keep up the good work, my friend, Joey. Joey, thank you so much for that email, and he also included a clip of the national anthem from that game, and I thought it would be appropriate to play it before we start the show. Joey and the Cincinnati Boys Choir, take it away.
The Cincinnati Boys Choir, directed by Dr. Randall Wolf, in the singing of our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last evening, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare upon thirsting air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
On September the 1st, the Reds were 76-56, 20 games over 500, and in the thick of the pennant race. On September 4th, the Reds were in Philadelphia. They hit 9 home runs. Yes, you heard that correctly, 9. Boone, Young, Hammonds, 2 for Eddie Taubensee, Vaughn, Reese, Johnson, and Lewis. The next day, they hit 5 more. The 14 home runs were an MLB record. The September surge was in full effect. They would go on to win 9 of the next 11 games and remain in not only the hunt for the wild card, but a shot at the division. On the final Sunday home game of the year, with a chance to move half a game back with 7 remaining, the Reds played one of the most exciting games of the year. With the score tied at 1 in the 7th, Mike Cameron came to the plate with runners on the corners. What happened? Well, let me turn it over to George Grand and Chris Welsh.
From top to bottom, has a blend of young players and older players. Some have been through pennant races, some haven't. Mike Cameron hasn't. He's been juiced up by what's been happening around him. Now he's got a chance to contribute big here. The 0-1. Deep to left. Does this have enough? It's going back. It's going to be gone, gone, gone. How about Cameron? Don't worry about the sacrifice. Don't worry about the base hit. A 3-run shot, and listen to this crowd. The Cardinals have to bring the infield in for Pokey. Reese against Metallico. Here's the 1-0. Here it goes. How about this? Unbelievable. It's gone. Pokey Reese has done it. The Reds win it. Metallico heads to the dugout. Heads to welcome home at home plate. Look at that scene.
And so it comes to this, the final road trip of the big road machine. The Cincinnati Reds were tied with the Houston Astros atop the Central Division, and on September 28th, the Reds, winners of 6 of 7, would travel to Houston for a 2-game set. The Reds won the first game 4-1. They lost the second game 4-1. Tied once more. Then it was off to Milwaukee for a 3-game series, the final series of the year. On the line, the division title, a wild card entry, or nothing at all. The Reds and Astros were tied for the NL Central Division lead at 95 and 64. The Mets were 2 games back in the wild card. Said Jack McKeon, "We can't count on the Mets, we can't count on the Dodgers, we can't count on Atlanta. We've got to go out there and do it ourselves." Said Pokey Reese, "These 3 games are going to be the biggest games of our career. We came too far to let Milwaukee spoil our plans." That's the way I'm taking it. After an off day on Thursday, September the 30th, the Reds and Milwaukee took the field for their crucial 3-game set on Friday, October the 1st. The Reds needed a win and a New York Mets loss to clinch a playoff spot. The Reds clubhouse in Milwaukee was covered in plastic sheeting, just in case a celebration was in order. But it wasn't needed. The Reds lost 4-3 in 10 innings. So with 2 games remaining, the Reds remained tied with the Houston Astros atop the Central Division with 95 and 65 records. 1 game ahead of the Mets, who were 94 and 66, in the wild card race. The Astros lost to the Dodgers 5-1 at the Astrodome. So if the 3 teams finished in a tie, the Mets would qualify for the wild card, and the Reds and Astros would have to play a 1-game playoff at Synergy Field on Monday at 2 o'clock for the Central title. Should the Mets remain 1 game back at the end, the Reds and Astros wouldn't need to play. Both would qualify for the playoffs, and the Reds would be awarded their first division title since 1995 because of their better head-to-head record, which was 9-4. The Reds could still win the division outright with the win and another Astros loss. You got that? Good. So on to Saturday, October 2nd. The Reds and Juan Guzman just didn't have it. Milwaukee 10, Cincinnati 6. The Astros took a 1-game lead in the Central with a 3-0 win over the Dodgers. The Mets caught the Reds in the wild card with a 7-0 win over the Pirates. And besides suffering a 10-6 loss, the Reds would also lose Mike Cameron to a hamstring injury. That was huge. Said Greg Vaughn, who in September tied Frank Robinson's club record by belting 14 home runs in the month. "Our guys are going to have to be hungry. I mean, this is it. Every single guy in here has to play like it's our last game ever." Jack McKeon said, "We decide our own destiny. If we win tomorrow, we'll play, either Monday or Tuesday. If we don't, we probably don't deserve to win." So after the game Saturday afternoon, devout massgoer Jack McKeon rarely encounters familiar faces when he goes to services on the road. So he was a bit surprised that Saturday night when he settled into his pew and looked around. He saw Pete Harnish, Jason LaRue, Stan Melinda, and Sean Casey. McKeon said, "We had such a big contingent that he couldn't help but listen to our prayers." And McKeon couldn't help notice that the bishop of the Milwaukee Archdiocese was wearing a red hat when he approached the altar. "I knew right then that we were in the right place," McKeon said. "I turned around to Pete and I said, 'I think the man upstairs is looking out for us.'" Perhaps he was. Sunday, October 3rd, Game 162. The Astros 96 and 65. The Reds 95 and 66, 1 game back. The wild card race, the Reds and Mets tied. A 5-hour and 47-minute rain delay, the longest in Milwaukee County Stadium history, meant the Reds could watch a historic Houston win, which clinched the division for them in their final year in the Astrodome, and a 9-4 Mets win versus the Pirates. The Reds had to win to force Game 163, a loss, and the season was over. In the 3rd inning, Harnish, Reese, Larkin, and Casey hit consecutive singles. Vaughn would hit a 3-run home run, his 45th, tying him with the bench for 4th most all-time in a single season by a Red. It was 5-0, and it finished 7-1. The Reds were winners. A 1-game playoff. Game 163, the Cincinnati Reds and the New York Mets at Synergy Field. Originally, the Reds and Mets 1-game playoff was to be held at 2:05 on Monday afternoon, but the Reds lobbied Commissioner Seelig to change it to 7:05 since the Reds probably wouldn't be getting back to Cincinnati until around 5 a.m., courtesy of those Milwaukee rains. Tickets went on sale at 7 a.m. that Monday. And it just wasn't the Reds' ticket offices working hard. It was the grounds crew and the stadium conversion team. You see, when the Bengals and Rams game ended around 4, John Allen raced down to the field in shorts and a windbreaker to oversee the final football to baseball conversion in Riverfront and Synergy Field history. And they had to do it in record time. The Bengals were moving to the new Paul Brown Stadium for the 2000 season, so this was it. And they had to do it in record time. What usually took 24 hours took only 18. The upper 40s temperatures and a light drizzle didn't matter to the 54,621 fans who provided a deafening welcome as the Reds took the field.
The crowd roars as the Reds take the field. 163rd time here in 1999 that this ball club has broken out of a dugout, whether it be here or in other locales around the National League, and they hope that this is obviously not the final time.
2 hits, no runs, a 5-0 Mets win. It was the first time the Reds had been shut out that season since April the 30th. But for a team that nobody thought would compete, a team that scratched and clawed and had 45 comeback wins, a team with veteran leadership and young stars, battled to the very end and provided great memories for thousands and thousands of Reds fans. The great Marty Brennaman summed it up best with his final comments of the 99 season following the game. Let's let him finish this podcast series off. Thank you for taking this journey with me this season as we look back at Team 99, one of the most beloved Reds teams of all time.
But the fans who are still in the ballpark up and applauding, many of them standing, the effort that this Cincinnati ball club gave them in this 1999 baseball season. It was truly a magical year. It's unfortunate that it has to end tonight, but it doesn't take away from what was a truly fine baseball season by this group of young men. Barry Larkin out of the dugout and clapping his hands together and going to meet one by one the members of the grounds crew. It was something of a ritual during the course of the year. After each Reds victory, they would line up to greet each of the Reds players as they left the field and headed toward the clubhouse. And even in defeat, the grounds crew members that did such a brilliant job of converting this field from football to baseball last night, young men who are absolutely exhausted right now, are out waiting to greet the players off this Reds ball club. And the 1999 year has come to an end for the Cincinnati Reds. Many of the Reds players out of the dugout acknowledging the adulation heaped upon them by many of the people who remained here in the ballpark tonight, and many of the Reds players taking their caps off, throwing them up into the seats behind the Cincinnati dugout, while the New York Mets head to the visitors clubhouse, getting ready to celebrate a bittersweet ending for the Reds ball club as they see their season come to an end, one that they had hoped would continue into tomorrow against the Atlanta Braves. That would have been their opponent had they won this ball game tonight. But it was simply a great pitching performance by left-hander Al Leiter. As we wrap up another baseball season, it's hard to believe it's number 26 for yours truly, and all those years spent with Joe in the radio booth here in this ballpark. And looking back on this year, we made the comment a couple of weeks ago, and it bears repeating tonight. We would hope that as you reflect back on this season, that nobody judges this baseball team by the fact that it did not get into the postseason. This was truly a magical year for a club that nobody gave very much chance to do anything of a positive nature when the season started back in the first days of April, and this club came within one game of making the National League playoffs. It is a ball club that I think in many ways revitalized interest among people in and around the city of Cincinnati, people who said after the 94 player strike they would never go to see another ball game again. They'd never listen to another game on radio or watch a game on television. And I think in many cases people's minds had been changed over the course of the year by watching a blend of veteran players like Greg Vaughn and Barry Larkin and Pete Harnisch, and the youth on this club, Sean Casey and Pokey Reese and Aaron Boone and Mike Cameron and Dimitri Young and Eddie Taubensee and all the rest of the people that made up a ball club that win 96 ball games, and yet they're on the outside looking in as the National League playoffs and playoffs in general in Major League Baseball get underway tomorrow. It was a great year for this team, and it would be grossly unfair to look back in a week or a month or 2 months and say, well, it really wasn't a very good year because this club did not make the postseason. On the contrary, when you win 96 games and lose 67, you have had a hell of a year. And that's exactly what this ball club had in 1999.